Freedom is the oxygen of the soul. Moshe Dayan. For Sigma males, relationships often feel like someone trying to steal their air supply. These men who thrive on independence and unshakable self-reliance see the romantic entanglements most people crave as potential traps. Did you know that over 40% of single people report feeling happiest when they're alone? Now imagine someone who's wired to not just enjoy solitude, but need it like the rest of us need our morning coffee. Welcome to the world of the Sigma male. For them, the idea of commitment isn't about fear or insecurity, it's about priorities. Why dive into the complex web of expectations, emotional obligations, and we need to talk moments when they could be using that time to conquer their goals, feed their curiosity, or just sit in blissful silence without anyone asking, "What are you thinking about?" Spoiler, they're probably not thinking about you, but before you label them as cold or heartless, here's the twist. Sigma males aren't avoiding relationships because they can't love. They're avoiding them because they value their freedom more than society's idea of love. Let's dive into the raw, unfiltered truth behind why these enigmatic men sidestep relationships like they're dodging a life sentence. Buckle up, this one's going to hit differently. Number one, their standards are unapologetically high. Sigma males don't just set the bar high, they build an entirely new level that most people can't reach. It's not arrogance, it's self-respect. They know exactly what they bring to the table: intellect, independence, ambition, and they expect a partner who matches that energy. The problem is finding someone who checks all their boxes isn't just rare, it's almost mythical. They're not looking for someone to complete them or fill a void. They're whole on their own, so what they want is someone extraordinary, someone who enhances their life without diminishing their individuality. This high standard isn't about being picky or difficult, it's about clarity. Sigma males don't see the point in settling for a mediocre connection just to avoid being alone. To them, that's the ultimate betrayal of self. They've mastered the art of solitude and would rather stay in their own company than waste time on a relationship that feels forced, shallow, or uninspiring. When a Sigma male evaluates a potential partner, they're not distracted by superficial qualities. They're looking for someone who can keep up with their depth, challenge their ideas, and bring something meaningful to the table. Emotional intelligence, independence, and a strong sense of purpose matter more to them than looks or social status. They want a partner who thrives on their own but chooses to stand beside them, not someone who clings for validation or support. This kind of unapologetic self-awareness intimidates people who are used to settling, and it explains why Sigma males often seem elusive or unattainable. It's not that they're avoiding relationships altogether, they're just not interested in anything less than extraordinary. And if that kind of connection doesn't come along, they're perfectly content waiting forever if they have to. Number two, they avoid unnecessary emotional risks. Sigma males view relationships like high-stakes poker. Every move requires careful calculation, and the risks can't outweigh the rewards. Emotional vulnerability is the ultimate gamble, and for a Sigma, it's a game they don't enter lightly. They understand that opening themselves up means exposing their deepest thoughts, feelings, and flaws to someone else, which is a level of trust they don't hand out easily. For them, the stakes aren't just emotional, they're mental and even existential. What happens if they let someone in and it all falls apart? The price of that emotional fallout is one they'd rather not pay. Unlike others who might rush into love believing the risk is worth it, Sigmas move cautiously, almost strategically. They've seen enough relationships implode, friends stuck in toxic cycles or people drained by heartbreak, to know that not every connection is worth the investment. They aren't cold-hearted. They're just brutally honest about what love can cost. They see heartbreak as a heavy tax on their peace of mind and focus, and they don't believe in paying that price unless the relationship offers something truly extraordinary in return. What's unique about a Sigma is how they approach emotional risk. They don't avoid it out of fear, but out of wisdom. They'd rather wait for a connection that feels solid, authentic, and deeply aligned with their values than waste time on something half-baked. It's not that they don't want love, they want the right love, and they won't compromise just to have it. Until that kind of connection comes along, they're content keeping their emotional cards close to their chest, knowing that their peace and independence are far more valuable than any fleeting romance. Number 3, they see red flags as deal breakers, not challenges. Sigma males have a zero tolerance policy for red flags, and they don't waste time trying to fix or overlook them. Where others might see a challenge or potential for change, a Sigma sees a clear exit sign. They operate with a sharp sense of self-preservation, and their instincts tell them that ignoring red flags is the fastest way to lose both their peace and their sense of self. To them, a toxic relationship isn't just inconvenient, it's a direct threat to everything they've worked hard to protect: their independence, focus, and emotional stability. While many people justify bad behavior in the name of love, thinking they can change someone or make excuses for their flaws, Sigmas reject that mindset completely. They believe that accepting red flags is an act of self-betrayal, and they have no patience for drama, manipulation, or dishonesty. Whether it's controlling tendencies, excessive neediness, or a lack of emotional maturity, Sigmas don't negotiate with these behaviors. They don't see these as minor quirks to work around. They see them as fundamental incompatibilities that can't be ignored. Sigmas also understand that tolerating red flags is often a slippery slope. What starts as a small issue can spiral into a toxic dynamic that's hard to escape. They refuse to sacrifice their standards or make compromises that cost them their sanity. Walking away isn't hard for them because they've mastered the art of being alone. They're not afraid to start over, and they'd rather face temporary loneliness than endure a relationship filled with chaos or deceit. For a Sigma, spotting a red flag isn't just a warning, it's a confirmation that this isn't where they belong. And when they see one, they don't second-guess themselves. They simply leave, no apologies, no regrets. Number 4, the fear of losing mental space. Sigma males treat their mental space like a sacred temple, and they're fiercely protective of it. Relationships, even with the best intentions, come with emotional demands, check-ins, compromises, and the unspoken obligation to always be there. For a Sigma, this constant sharing of thoughts, feelings, and decisions feels less like connection and more like someone trespassing in their mental sanctuary. It's not about being selfish, it's about survival. They need that solitude to think, recharge, and grow. Without it, they feel suffocated, as if their sense of identity is being diluted. To a Sigma, mental clarity is non-negotiable. It's where their best ideas are born and their most profound insights take shape. Relationships, no matter how loving, can disrupt that clarity with emotional noise. The misunderstandings, compromises, and emotional upkeep that others accept as part of love often feel like chaos to a Sigma. They don't thrive in emotional messiness. They thrive in order and self-possession. What makes it more complex is that most people don't understand this need. They might label a Sigma as cold or distant, but it's not about shutting people out. It's about staying connected to themselves. They're not trying to be mysterious. They're preserving their ability to think clearly and act intentionally. This doesn't mean a Sigma male can't love or commit. It just means they approach relationships cautiously, weighing whether someone adds to their life or takes from it. If the person respects their need for mental space and brings balance instead of noise, there's a chance they'll open the door. But if the relationship starts feeling like a constant interruption to their inner world, they'll shut that door faster than most people can process, and they won't look back. Number 5. Relationships feel like shackles in disguise. Sigma. Males view relationships as potential traps, shackles disguised with pretty words like love, compromise, and partnership. While society glorifies the idea of giving and taking in relationships, Sigmas can't help but see the hidden cost: their freedom. To them, autonomy isn't just a lifestyle choice, it's a core value, something they guard fiercely because it's what allows them to live authentically and unapologetically. The thought of surrendering their independence, even in the name of love, feels like losing a piece of themselves. They aren't against commitment, they're against forced alignment. They don't want to bend their routines, ambitions, or decisions to accommodate someone else's expectations, especially when it feels like a slow, subtle reshaping of their lives. For Sigmas, compromise often sounds like a clever way to sell control. Things that others find comforting, like constant check-ins or shared schedules, can feel suffocating to them. It's not that they lack the capacity to care. They just value their ability to move through life on their own terms more. Relationships, as they often play out, demand sacrifices that Sigmas are rarely willing to make. Their independence isn't about rebellion or fear of intimacy, it's about self-preservation. They've built their lives around their own rhythms and priorities. And the idea of tying themselves to someone who might disrupt that is a deal breaker. They're not interested in relationships that feel like an endless negotiation of time, energy, and identity. For them, the only connection worth pursuing is one where freedom isn't just respected, it's celebrated. Anything less, it's just another set of shackles they have no intention of wearing. Number 6, the emotional drama feels exhausting. For Sigma males, emotional drama isn't just tiring, it's downright unbearable. Their inner peace is their sanctuary, and anything that disrupts it feels like an unnecessary battle they'd rather not fight. Relationships, while rewarding for some, often come with a side of emotional turbulence that Sigmas see as more draining than fulfilling. They're not built for endless decoding of passive-aggressive comments, navigating unspoken expectations, or managing emotional outbursts. That kind of energy drain isn't just inconvenient, it's a direct threat to their mental stability. Sigmas thrive on clarity, both in thought and in action. They need straightforward communication and mutual understanding, not emotional guesswork or hidden agendas. To them, relationships that lack this kind of transparency are more confusing than comforting. The constant effort required to figure things out in emotionally charged situations feels like running on a treadmill that's going nowhere. They'd rather step off and use their energy for something that truly matters to them, whether it's personal growth, intellectual pursuits, or simply maintaining their calm. This isn't about emotional immaturity or fear of commitment. Sigmas simply refuse to entertain dynamics that feel chaotic or unbalanced. They know their limits and aren't afraid to enforce them. If being in a relationship means constantly walking on eggshells or sacrificing their mental well-being, they'll choose solitude every time. It's not because they don't value connection, it's because they value peace of mind more. To them, the ideal relationship is one that adds value without demanding constant emotional labor. Anything less feels like an exhausting game they have no interest in playing. They're not running from love, they're running from anything that feels like emotional noise in a world where they crave silence and simplicity. Number 7, modern relationships are built on performances. Sigma males see modern relationships as a theater of pretense, with social media acting as the stage. In a world obsessed with likes, shares, and curated perfection, love has become less about genuine connection and more about performance. For Sigmas, this performative aspect is the ultimate turn-off. The idea of documenting their relationship for an audience feels disingenuous, like trading intimacy for applause. Couple selfies, anniversary posts, and public declarations of affection often come across to them as hollow rituals designed to impress strangers rather than deepen the bond. What makes Sigmas different is their relentless demand for authenticity. They aren't interested in playing roles or conforming to societal expectations just to fit the mold of a happy couple. The idea of showcasing a picture-perfect relationship feels like a distraction from what actually matters: true understanding, mutual respect, and shared growth. To them, love is private, raw, and messy in the most beautiful way, not something that needs validation from a comment section. This performative culture also amplifies superficiality, which Sigmas loathe. They find it hard to trust a connection that feels more focused on appearances than substance. The pressure to look flawless as a couple can overshadow the real work of building a meaningful relationship. For Sigmas, this is a game they'd rather not play. Instead, they prioritize relationships that exist outside the spotlight, connections that don't need a public audience to thrive. They crave something real, something they can hold on to without worrying about how it looks to the outside world. If love has to come with filters, hashtags, and an endless cycle of public updates, they'd rather keep their independence intact and leave the performance to others. For them, real relationships are lived, not staged. Number 8, they refuse to settle for mediocrity. Sigma males operate with a simple yet uncompromising philosophy. If it's not exceptional, it's not worth their time. They'd rather face years of solitude than commit to a relationship that feels lukewarm or uninspired. For them, the idea of settling is a betrayal of their own values. It's not about arrogance, it's about knowing their worth and refusing to compromise on what truly matters to them. To a Sigma, relationships are more than just companionship. They're partnerships built on mutual respect, deep understanding, and shared purpose. Anything less feels hollow. They're not interested in surface-level connections or ticking societal boxes. The idea of being with someone just to avoid being alone doesn't resonate with them because they don't fear solitude. In fact, they embrace it as a space to grow, reflect, and pursue their passions. What sets them apart is their patience. Sigmas are willing to wait, no matter how long it takes, for a connection that truly moves them. They're not swayed by fleeting attraction or external pressure to settle down. Instead, they approach relationships with a critical eye, asking themselves if the person in question genuinely aligns with their values, goals, and lifestyle. If the answer is no, they walk away without hesitation. This high standard can make them seem unattainable or overly picky. But for Sigmas, it's about preserving the integrity of their lives. They don't want someone to complete them. They want someone who complements the life they've built. If the connection doesn't ignite something profound within them, they'd rather keep walking their path alone, confident that mediocrity will never satisfy a soul that craves meaning. For a Sigma, love is either extraordinary or it's not worth it. Number 9, love isn't their endgame. For Sigma males, love is not the endgame, it's just one element of a much larger journey. While society often portrays romantic love as the pinnacle of happiness and fulfillment, Sigmas see it as a part of a bigger picture, one that centers on purpose, personal growth, and self-mastery. They're not sitting around waiting for love to come knocking at their door. Instead, they're too busy building lives that are meaningful and full of their own ambitions. Their focus is on self-actualization, and they believe that the true purpose of life is to become the best version of themselves, not to complete someone else or chase after a happily ever after. The Sigma male's ultimate goal is personal freedom and achievement, not finding someone to settle down with. Romance is something that might happen along the way, but it doesn't define their existence or their happiness. What makes them unique is their lack of desperation. They don't need a partner to feel fulfilled or validated. Instead, they seek out a purpose that drives them, a passion that fuels them, and a lifestyle that aligns with their values. If love comes into their life, it's a bonus, not a requirement. It's not that they don't believe in love, it's just that they don't idolize it. For a Sigma male, love is something to be experienced, not chased. They don't feel the societal pressure to fall in love or find someone to settle down with. If the right person crosses their path, someone who complements their life, supports their mission, and shares their values, they may engage, but their sense of fulfillment will never depend on it. For them, love is just one chapter, not the book itself. Number 10, most people don't understand their complexity. Sigma males live on a different frequency, one that many people simply can't tune into. Their thoughts, values, and worldviews are shaped by years of introspection and independence, making them feel like they operate in a realm that others can't quite grasp. This makes relationships a constant challenge. They often find themselves having to explain themselves, justify their choices, or worst of all, watch as others misinterpret their intentions. It's mentally exhausting and frankly a waste of time for someone who craves clarity and understanding. What makes this even harder for Sigmas is that most people are looking for familiarity in relationships, a mirror of their own thoughts and values. But Sigmas don't fit neatly into those expected molds. They don't follow trends, they don't think in typical patterns, and they don't live according to conventional rules. This can make even the simplest conversation feel like a maze. They know the frustration of seeing someone try to understand them only to feel misunderstood. For many, this is a constant battle, one they're not willing to fight just to make a relationship work. For Sigmas, it's not about being better or smarter than anyone else. It's about a depth of thinking and individuality that doesn't align with the cookie-cutter relationships most people are used to. They've learned the hard way that trying to force a connection with someone who can't grasp their complexity is not only draining, it's fruitless. So rather than endure the constant mental tug-of-war, Sigmas often choose to avoid relationships altogether. Why get tangled in the frustration when solitude offers peace and clarity, allowing them to live authentically without having to explain themselves over and over again? In the end, Sigma males aren't afraid to walk alone. They don't crave the conventional or the predictable. And they certainly don't chase after relationships for the sake of it. They live life on their terms, choosing purpose, independence, and authenticity over the superficial attractions that many fall prey to. For them, love isn't a quest, it's an experience, a chapter in a greater story where their own growth and freedom are the heroes. They won't settle, they won't perform, and they certainly won't compromise their soul just to fit into society's mold. If a connection happens, it happens naturally, but it's never something to be pursued at the cost of their peace, their passion, or their purpose. Most won't understand the complexities that shape them, and that's okay. Sigma males have learned that it's better to be misunderstood than to sacrifice their core for the sake of convenience. They are the rare breed who prioritize their own evolution over the external validation of love and relationships. To them, the world is vast, filled with endless opportunities for growth, self-discovery, and independence. And if someone truly worthy crosses their path, it will never be a compromise. It will be a natural, exceptional union. So, while the world may chase after fleeting affection and romantic validation, the Sigma male will remain focused on something far more meaningful, the pursuit of his own greatness. Because at the end of the day, he knows that the most important relationship he'll ever have is with himself. If you found this insight into the Sigma male's world as intriguing as we know you did, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Stay tuned for more deep dives into the minds of the most extraordinary individuals out there. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Keep challenging the ordinary. Subscribe now and join the journey. Bye for now and see you in the next video.